All right, good afternoon. Wow, it's great to see more faces and continue to hear the buzz, the excitement. Hopefully there's more excitement for you all to see each other than necessarily to hear from me.
You got that right.
Yes. I have some jokes in my back pocket. We don't want to go down that path. So, I do have some folks that are not able to make it today. So David Newton is out of the office. He'll be back over the weekend. And then also Anna Grace, her husband's graduating from his master's program, so she needed to leave early tonight because family was all getting together and getting everything squared away for this weekend. And Shannon also has a lot going on right now, so she's not able to join us. So it'll be myself and Amy, and then I'm going to invite Skip to come up and talk about the sidewalk that's coming down the line. But before we got there, I've requested Mr. George Hardiman, if you could open us up with prayer, it would be greatly appreciated.
If I had known that I was going to fill in for David, I would have put on a coat and tie.
But you all right,
I'm all right like that. I'm still handsome like this. Y'all be sure and tell Helen. Now let's pray. Father, we come to you this afternoon just so grateful for another day of life. We thank you, Lord, for the assurance of knowing that you're always with us, and through the Holy Spirit you're in us. And we're thankful for that. Thank you, Father, for the way you take care of us, provide for us. We're thankful for the rain we've had. We're thankful for the sun that's coming. And Lord, we just are so thankful for just your love and care and watch care over us. And we thank you for this place where we are and for the people you've put out here to help us, to guide us and direct us too. And we're thankful for each one of them, their gifts, their talents. And Father, for all of us who are living here, we're just so grateful for the friendships we have here. And just help us, Lord, to be sensitive to each other's needs, and help us to seek your will in all that we do, that we may honor and glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, George.
Good afternoon. So y'all know that Katie's last full day was this past Friday. She will come on as, Katie is our wellness coordinator. She will stay on in a PRN aspect, so she will come in and fill in sometimes if she's needed. But I have hired a new wellness coordinator. She will start the 1st of June. I don't know an actual date yet, but that's the date that I've been given is sometime around the 1st of June. We do have people doing classes, so, coming in and filling in for classes. Danielle is filling in for some of Katie's classes. Katie will probably come in and do some of the classes from time to time. And then we have some of the other people who we contract out with to come in and teach our classes. So, and then I have gone down and helped people learn how to use the machine. So, if you're having a question, I don't know everything, but I do know how to use the machine. So if you need that, you can call me. I can show you how to do that. But our new wellness coordinator, her name will be Emily Pitts. And Cardi, I didn't have any men apply, so we need them. Cardi wants a man, and I think maybe some other people, but I didn't have any men apply. So, but Emily's highly qualified. She has a BS in kinesiology with an exercise specialist concentration, and she has her master's in fitness administration. She's been the wellness coordinator at the Woodlands, but she was not presently doing that. She had taken a promotion to be the director of resident services, and she'd done that for a little while, but she just really missed the fitness aspect and working with residents and showing them, like the fitness lifestyle and things like that. So when she saw this position, she thought it would be a good time to get back into that. So she's highly qualified. She has a lot of energy, really good personality. I think you'll really like her a lot. The TV has been ordered for the Wellness Gym 2, and that's the little room that we have moved some of the equipment into. And so we're calling it the Wellness Gym 2. I think that's what we're naming it. But anyway, it will be here Saturday, so I think by next week it should be installed in that room, because I know some people were wanting the TV. They said it was lonely in there to work out with nothing. So we're still looking for a bus driver. I know Jimmy, he's working on his passenger endorsement, but we do still need a big bus driver. And so we still have the ad out there. I do have an interview Monday, but the pickings are slim. So we'll see how it goes on Monday. And then the pool heater is fixed. Hopefully the temperature will be back to normal by tomorrow, but it is fixed. So I know some people were concerned about that. So it should be warm again tomorrow. And that's really all I have. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. It's hard to see somebody like Katie leave. She really was doing a great job. I know that after having her first child, it's a difficult decision to make. So we're grateful she's going to stay on. PRN is as needed, so she might come in and help out if somebody takes the leave or goes on vacation or some other type of opportunity. So I think it's a great thing. She's still going to be connected with us. So, but she did do a great job while she was here. Wanted to see if we can jump in. Like I said, a little bit of a different agenda today. I'm going to invite Skip to come up in a little bit, but wanted to make sure folks knew the new executive director of quarterly communications is going to be coming out. I believe Lindsay might have posted that to the resident portal this week. TV. Over here. Sorry, Lindsay. This one's not working down here. So the quarterly communication, that is after some feedback from independent living residents. They wanted to hear more about what's going on. So it's a 2-page document that I pulled together to keep you all informed and talk about some pretty key things that we look at on a daily basis. So I'm borrowing from Life Care Services. There's kind of an internal focus on PSPG, which is People Serve, Performance, and Growth. So I went into that same type of strategy and talked about the things when it comes to people that are going on, service that we have, the performance that we've had, and also the growth that we have. So take a look at that. I'm definitely continued open to feedback from residents on, if there's something different you'd like to hear about. So, but that quarterly communication will be going out in the highlights as well this week. So we posted it, and then I'll make sure it gets in the highlights for tomorrow. Want to make sure you're aware of the dining services, dining room manager position. We sent out a note a couple of weeks ago about Karen's resignation. It's a very difficult transition. We know that that's a very visible position that folks get connected with in that role. And we had hoped that she would finish out her tenure, but she decided not to. So we know that that's hard, and we wanted to make sure we communicated with you as far as that transition. And within the last couple of days, we've actually been able to transition and promote from within for that role. So you'll also be getting some written communication out. But Claudia Garzon, who is the current assistant manager, who's been doing a lot of those duties for a number of months now, we indicated she'd be an interim, but she came to Bruce and said, I really want to step up into that role. And he was excited to bring her into that role. So she is going to be that new full-time dining room manager. So I think that's great to see somebody on the team that everyone's familiar with. And then also Pam Dobson is going to step into the assistant role that was, you could say, vacated by Claudia. So Pam has been with us for a number of years as well. She left right around Christmas time and then came back in a lead server role, but not necessarily dining room manager. But as folks are aware, she's everywhere and she knows a lot of things. So she's excited to step back in to that assistant role and continue to be on the team. So that communication will be coming out. I know Bruce is off today. I was going to have him come and speak, but his daughter's in town from out of town. So otherwise he would have been here with us. But that communication will come out to you shortly. So that's exciting to make sure that role is squared away and folks are aware of where we're headed. Want to make sure on the Phase 2 communication that you're aware another resident town hall is going to be coming up in June, and we're going to invite Life Care Services to be here, Lucas Shaw, in addition to folks from the SFCS architecture team. And those are the subject matter experts that do the architectural renderings, or doing them now for the phase 2 planning that we're doing. So over these next few months, we'll be bringing in those subject matter experts that are working alongside us as we are researching and planning for phase 2. So we start off with Life Care Services Development and then the architecture team. In the coming months, we'll have an opportunity to visit also with the construction team, Clancy Thays, that we've partnered with, and also to likely visit with the finance investment banking guy that we're working with. H.J. Sims is the name of the firm. So I know I'm getting a lot of financial related questions, so I might actually move Tom up sooner versus later. So we've already got the architect squared away. We'll probably bring in Tom next in that resident town hall series, and then push out the construction crew on the other side of Tom. So we'll have 4 different, you could say, quarterly meetings to give you all an opportunity to learn more and talk to those experts that are working alongside us. So stay tuned for that. We'll get some more information around that town hall coming up in June. Keep moving along. Want to make sure folks are aware that within the last, since the last resident town hall meeting, I also visited with a handful of residents who had a lot of questions surrounding the expansion. They had indicated that they'd be called the Resident Expansion Committee. So did have a good open communication visit with them. It's about an hour and a half long. There's still a lot of outstanding questions. A lot of the questions that were raised by folks were focused on the finances, and we're not that far along to really understand what the finances look like. So we're getting closer to that. So hopefully at this next meeting we can share a little bit more and talk further about how that financing works. It's a very complicated industry that we're in, particularly when it comes to financing. Very different than your normal day-to-day financing. So just want to make sure folks are aware that I did visit with that group of residents, and going to be visiting with them again shortly after the next resident town hall meeting. And the last thing around phase 2 is making sure you're aware that we are finalizing that schematic design and also updating our project budget and construction costs. So later on this month, there's going to be a review by Life Care Services Development and the board. We've been waiting for a while to look at those construction costs. Everybody knows construction costs are continuing to go up, but there's a lot of details to get into those construction costs based upon what the architectural renderings and the schematic designs were. So it takes a lot of time, and that from that construction cost, we'll then understand what the true cost of the project is, and then we'll begin to look at what are those financing avenues as we move forward. So still a lot more to happen. A lot more decisions to be made. The board will end up looking at those this month and then making a decision if they want to move forward or not based upon that. So again, we'll keep you in the loop there as we move forward. Next slide. There we go. So we did just finish our 2023 audit, and I want to make sure you're aware of that. We're grateful that we received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest that you can receive for the review of our 2023 financials. So that process ended just within the last maybe 10 days. Once we finalize everything, then we have to go through and get board approval and then just kind of finalize that whole package. But I wanted to share that with you since we did have a chance to visit with the board and receive that feedback from the audit firm. So Clifton Larson Allen is the name of the firm. They're an independent third-party CPA firm auditor that came in and looked over all the financials for 23. They also indicated that one of their statements are that they were neutral, they were consistent, and they were clear. So I want to give a lot of credit to Sean Friedman, who's our financial services director. When she took over back August, September, there was a lot of pieces that she had to kind of understand and learn about. So she did a great job of pulling everything together and truly understanding and absorbing to allow her to then share all the information that was needed and make sure that the auditors had what they needed to be successful. So really do appreciate the work that she has done. She's learned a lot through the process, and she knows that next year is going to be a little bit smoother. There were a few little hiccups at the end. The audit firm is looking at IT controls, information technology this year, which is something new. In years past, they hadn't focused on that. So there were a few extra things that we had to answer. Usually the first time you do something, it's a little bit more complicated, and in the subsequent years it'll get smoother. But we were able to satisfy all those requests and had a really good unmodified opinion and clean audit. So we're grateful to get that result. As we talk about results and financial results, I want to share with you the first quarter financial results. So this is January to March of 24. On the far left side, you got our total operating revenues, our budget, and our actual and the variance in total operating expenses, and then sharing with you the net operating income. So this is January, February, March. We did exceed our budgeted operating revenues by $287,000, so that's great to see. We continue to see really good demand for our independent living housing, and also really good demand for our health center units. So Anna Grace didn't talk about the census today, but I believe we have 48, so we're completely occupied within the health center, and I believe there's about 17 or 18 residents within the rehab area. So that demand has bounced back since COVID, and that's been one of those key contributors. So with the apartments doing really well, and also on the health center side, those are the reasons why we're able to exceed the revenue numbers there. On the operating expense side, we did slightly miss for the first 3 months of the year with $59,000 and $59,353 as far as the operating expense. So we were slightly over what we had budgeted for operating expenses, but overall not too bad. So the net operating income so far this year has been $934,804. That is exceeding what we had budgeted by around $227,000. Sean is currently working on finalizing our April financials. So I don't have those for you yet, but those should be finished here probably by tomorrow, and I'll definitely share that with you all at the June meeting. All right, wanted to give you all an update as far as the wellness center space, the pool. We're still working through the ceiling roof repairs. Skip and I were talking about it within the last week. There's a few things that we have to clarify when it comes to that estimate. There's going to be a lot of scaffolding that's put into the pool, significant amount of work scaffolding to get up to the ceiling and to do resurfacing up there. So we are still targeting for that project to happen, but just working through some of those details. The curb appeal at the front entrance, another project we've been working on. The front entrance flagpole, there were some upgrades of some of the shrubs up there and just cleaning up that space. So I want to make sure you're aware that did happen. Skip and I also visited with Brightview yesterday, looking at that front entrance. There's a lot of inconsistency with the grass, as you're driving through in the area that we cut out all those trees. So we're going to work with them on doing some seeding and cleaning out of all the rocks and everything to smooth that out to make it look like grass and not just like a partial field with some weeds in it. So that's something that's coming up as well as we're working on that curb appeal at the front entrance. The lakeside sidewalk improvements. This is a pretty big project and a pretty big deal that we're also working through. Working with the folks from the Lakeside HOA presidents, and we're going to visit in June, Skip and I and the geotechnical engineers, to share some of the findings that they had when they did more of an exhaustive study. So we're going to visit with the entire Lakeside resident neighborhood. Lakewood, between Woodside and Lakeside. We're going to visit with them in June in this room to share the results and give an opportunity for residents to ask the subject matter experts, the engineers, what their findings were, and we're going to talk through some of the questions that they have, and then also hopefully start to narrow down on some of the solutions as we move forward. But that is definitely something that's much bigger than we anticipated, but it's important that we move forward. Even if it's slowly, we're still moving in that right direction and making sure that we're partnering with residents to understand what we know and then work towards a solution there. Next slide. The Village Green Courtyard. I think last time I talked about the subcommittee that we have. We continue to make some good progress in that space. Irrigation study's been completed, the new ground covers and the flowers have been planted. We've also completed the fences in the Village Green Courtyard. for all the patios that are there, and we are looking to add 4 more. And one of the other updates here, the subcommittee for the Village Green is going to visit with the landscape architect coming up on May 20th, as we're trying to determine what the best structure is going to be for that space. We want to talk to the landscape architect that we've worked with in years past from Earth Design to help us come up with some different ideas. So Holly Owens from Earth Design will be out here on May 20th in the afternoon to visit with myself and Skip, and also with the folks from the Village Green Subcommittee. So looking forward to continuing to move that project forward, and particularly to recreate that space in the Village Green. And I want to make sure you're aware that the lobby furnitures are going to be coming in the first week of June. RDG is the name of the design firm that has helped us with these lobbies in the past. So we are aware that they're coming. Just wanted to give an update. I got asked by a resident recently when that furniture was going to be upgraded in those apartments. So I believe that's A through D is where those lobbies are going to be. So, but I'll get more information for you. I just got that feedback from Ruth earlier this week and haven't had a chance to visit with her in detail. But that's exciting. I know that's been a long time coming when it comes to the new furniture there. And then I've got a lot of resident questions surrounding the Hoke Smith sidewalk. So I wanted to take a little bit of time. I'm going to start off and then ask Skip to come up and give his expertise, so folks understand what the path is that we're on. So this is a picture from, you could say, from the village center side of Hoke Smith heading out, that will show you the area that's going to be improved. So we do have significant concern when it comes to the lack of curbing and the breakdown of that sidewalk and not being the right width, but then also just the overall ongoing erosion and ability for somebody to fall in that space. So we want to make sure that we bring that space up to code, create curbs in the sidewalk that goes all the way out to the lakeside, the entrance of Lakeside. That's also significantly creating connectivity that we've not had in the past, to make it easier for folks to come from those neighborhoods and walk down Hoke Smith along the sidewalk safely and head up to the Commons. So in doing that, there are a handful of trees. I know I've got a lot more questions around the trees with the markings around them. But I'm going to move forward to the next slide. So we've got all the bids and the estimates. We did just get a new project curveball with this. As you're aware, nothing can be simple around here. We found out through the study, and Skip can talk about this a little bit, that the primary electrical line to Rolling Green Village is actually underneath that sidewalk. And it's only buried, I believe, 1 foot deep. That's going to be a problem for us that we have to now navigate and figure out how to work through that. So that's the reason why it's taken us a little while. That's why you see the markings there. We had the utility firm come out to help us make sure if we started to disrupt that space, what it's going to look like underneath. So we're waiting for Duke Energy to get back to us with some of the plans and the alternatives and how to deal with that. But we clearly don't want to damage that line in doing this project. So we have planned and targeted for July, the beginning of July, to get that started. But now with this curveball, we're not sure how long it's going to take Duke to come up with some options and what those options are going to be. So, but in light of that, we are still going to execute this project, just a matter of timing. I want to invite Skip to come up and go over the 2 visuals that we have for folks to see those areas that are impacted, and also see where we're going to be bringing those improvements. Go to the next slide. Skip.
Good afternoon. Good to be here. I want to thank y'all for your wise choice of decisions and not asking Ryan to start his jokes. He's tried some on me, and I would put him back in Bob's class, so I don't think that's a direction that we want to go in. But anyway, I appreciate his sense of humor. We have fun. He teases me about the trees, and I tease him about jokes, so it's a good partnership. Well, I want to talk to you. There has been a lot of questions about Hoke Smith and why we're doing what we're doing. And just a quick recap of what Ryan said, the biggest issue is your safety. As you know, for years we've had a lot of erosion and stuff, so there's unevenness out there on the sidewalks. It's washing over. there's debris that's on the sidewalks and things like that. So we made the decision to replace that sidewalk like we did across from the cottages up to Creekside where you turn there. We'll continue that 5-foot sidewalk and the curbing to be able to channel the water and be able to take that apart, so we can control it. So what you're looking at here is Bloodhound utility locates. So those are the utilities that is in the way of us removing that sidewalk. And we just found out that the primary line, this is the one that brings all the power in for y'all and all around this area, all these buildings and stuff is only a foot deep underneath that sidewalk. So we are working with Duke Power engineers to come up with alternative. What they are looking to do is run a whole new primary line from Garlington Road into this property and actually bore underneath the lake and come up. Now that is being done for 2 reasons. One, because of the issues we've got here, and 2, because as we're moving forward with the expansion, bringing the electrical infrastructure in to be able to support that. Now, the other thing, on the 15th of the month, Bloodhound will be back out here to do some locating exactly where those lines are. What they're going to be doing is what's called potholing. And they're going to bring a suction and injector in, and they go and they'll dig down and they use that to suck out dirt and sort of go down until they find the electrical line. So we can tell exactly where it is, how deep it is. So that's a process. They vacuum that out as they go, so that it doesn't involve any shoveling or anything like that to cut the line, because we certainly don't want to take the electrical down. So that is going to be sort of a process, and then what we find there, we'll know exactly where it's located and figure out how we're going to handle that. But the engineers are working on that. We'll update you as we get more information, but as you can imagine, it's not just an easy process. And also,
Can you talk about the tree roots and the driveway?
yeah, so if you want to go to the next, well, okay. Yeah, what I want to point out here is, because we're going to have to come in here, and this is where the new sidewalk's going to go and the curbing's going to go, we've got to do grading through here. We also have a sewer line. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? There's also the main sewer line that comes across here and goes down through there, which is an easement with Metro Sewer. So we're going to have to take those trees out, not just cut them, we actually have to take the root systems out. So that's another reason we've got to go and make sure we know exactly where those lines are and figure out how to work around them, because as you can imagine, you're pushing a tree over, the root system comes out, it's going to bring everything that's associated around that root system. So we're trying to be very cautious as we take this approach to make sure we do it right and we have minimum disruption. So that's this area here, okay? And this is where it goes down to the dam. So we'll be taking that down through here and then around to the entrance to Lakeside. Next one, please. All right, so the yellow line shows you where the new 5-foot sidewalk is going to go. It's going to pick up at the entrance to Creekside, go all the way around to the entrance to Lakeside. And then this 5-foot area shows where it goes down to the lake. So what's involved in all this location and electrical is what's located on that yellow line. Yeah, I think that's it. So, any questions? Wow, thank you.
Skip failed to talk a little bit. I think when folks go out on Hoke Smith, there's a natural speed bump from the tree roots.
Yeah.
So we're going to be cutting that out as well. So that's a piece. And again, I know we're talking about the trees, but the trees being so close to the road, we're starting to see that with root systems and trees that are 20, 30, 40 years old. That speed bump is going to need to be taken out. That section of Hoke Smith is going to be ground down and then repaved. And that's one of the other reasons why we're taking out some of those trees. The other piece of taking out the trees, if we're going through and investing in a new sidewalk, we don't want that to also happen eventually down the line with, again, root system coming up through something that we've just invested in. So There will be shrubbery, there will be some rocks that are used to shore up the slope there, but there will be some shrubs that are planted. It's not going to be completely gone, but we're going to work with Bright View and the landscape architect to execute there. But I felt, I got a lot of questions around that. What are we doing? Without showing you guys the visuals and talking a little bit about it, I think hopefully this will fill in some of the blanks as we move forward in the coming months. So, Sue, you have a question?
Yes, I was just one. Okay, okay, cool. You're going to take those trees out. Obviously, that's going to take the sidewalk and that's going to take part of the road. What do you do about transportation in and out? That could be potentially be a problem.
Yeah, that outgoing lane, and that's why we wanted to plan this out and give you all enough advance notice. It's going to be blocked off for a period of time. So it is going to change the traffic pattern because we do not want to have people driving in that vicinity. So once we figure out everything with Duke, then we'll get an updated time frame, but we want to give you all enough notice that you'll need to go out the other way, but you can come in the same way. But in that section, we don't want to create 2 lanes on the other side. We're going to keep it the way that it is, but block it off to make sure that folks don't go down there. We don't know. We're hopeful maybe 2 to 4 weeks, probably more on the 4-week side. We're just going to have to see how long it'll be shut down. We don't want to shut it down longer than we have to. And the hope is that we're going to be doing the grading and all that stuff around the same time. We don't want to have significant delays. So Skip's working with between the tree folks and between the concrete folks, and the people that are able to do the berm and everything, trying to sequence that as best we can, weather permitting. Is the other key piece. But that's why I want to do it in the summer with a less opportunity to have the rain like we're having now. Hopefully that won't happen in July, but that could. If there's any other questions, I'm glad to answer those later around this, but I just wanted to share with you that visual. A few more resident items. The resident handbook has been updated. I know there was some feedback on some mistakes, so we do think it's going to be a living, breathing document, and there's going to continue to be updates. But I want to make sure you're aware that has been posted. The second resident pendants. Ann said she's about halfway through handing those out to folks in the patio homes that are needing that additional pendant. Again, I want to stress there's no cost to you for that. She's waiting on some more pendants, and then she'll be in touch with the rest of the residents as she's going down the list. So at the end of this project, we'll make sure that all residents, particularly couples, in the patio homes have a pendant, and they are not charged for that extra pendant. So that's a shift that we've had in the past where we just gave out one. We're going to make sure both residents living in that home have a pendant. We see that as a safety concern for sure. We did install new speed bumps at the 4-way stop. I think folks are aware of that. Haven't heard too much feedback around it, but I think folks knew that they were coming. We didn't try to go too aggressively with multiples, but we did want to make a statement for folks to know that is a 4-way stop. There is a lot of traffic, there's a lot of walkers, which we want people walking, and we need to slow down. Also got feedback from a resident, and it was a very interesting written correspondence. So just to be mindful, there's a written correspondence to a resident from the University Systems of Georgia. It looked pretty close to UGA, but it was a scam. So we do need to be mindful when you receive that information telling you to contact them. I would definitely have you pause and not pick up the phone immediately and not respond to something like this. It was, like I said, when I read through it, I had to kind of read through it a couple of different times. It's University of Georgia, but University Systems of Georgia. It just takes one different word there, and they can try to trick you into calling them and giving you some of your private information. So just be careful. Those types of opportunities are going to continue. Just pause and ask somebody else to look at something before you go and pick up the phone and give any information. That's true. That's very true. Also wanted to share with you, we still have great demand for residences here. We do have a current housing prospective wait list. So we have 100 folks that are on our current wait list for current housing. This does not include phase 2. So as we have apartments that are coming open, we're very grateful to be able to fill those apartments pretty quickly. There is time it takes to refurb an apartment for depending upon what type of repairs need to be done. on the prospective resident side, they need to finalize maybe the sale of their home or some other planning to move in. We've had 3 move-ins this week in the apartments, and I believe we'll have 5 by the end of this month. So it's great to see that that resident demand and folks continue to come here. And when those residences do open up, there's not a long time between them being reoccupied. Another reason why we're seeing the great occupancy revenue results. And then 7 patio homes from the last count that we had from working with Dorothy this week will be closing between now and the end of the month as well. So it's great to see that demand on the patio home side. On to the next one. I'm going to continue with the Judy Outlaw Did You Know series. And I heard that Bob Torres has also done this before, so it's kind of neat. But over the last month, we had the board had requested to hear from some department heads. So Amy Abercrombie had an opportunity to visit at the most recent board meeting. They asked me who would be good just to kind of come and talk to them more about resident life. So I thought that Amy was a good start. So she actually went through the month of April and counted up all the different types of things that we have going on. And this is a summary, which I thought was pretty amazing. So all the different things that are going on, the bus trips, the games, the lectures and learning, the socials, music events, fitness opportunities, 156. That's a lot. That's pretty great to see. We're keeping folks active and out and about. And the religious activities and special events and health related events. So, you know, when that big counter comes out, it may be a little bit numbing, but if you drill down those numbers, it's pretty neat to see it aggregated. And I know that the board was really excited to see that level of activity and hear about some of the other partnerships and things that Amy and her team are doing. So it's a really good thing. All right, the last one. I don't know if Erica made it here, but I don't know if did everybody see the picture?
Yeah.
How cool was that picture? I really thought that was pretty special. So when Carl, we had the drop in for Carl, I think was it last week or 2 weeks ago? A couple weeks ago, I was out there just saying hello, saying thank you to Carl, and I stopped over and Erica was sitting and having a cookie, and I said, "There's the cover girl." I was teasing her. And she smiled and I said, "That was a great picture." And she said, "Yeah." She said, "That was a great trip." She said, I want to go back." And I thought that was really pretty cool. And then I asked Amy, I said, "What, you know," I said, "That is an amazing picture." So I found out Sophia took the picture, right? And I guess it was a bit of an exercise to get her up the ramp onto that boat with everything going on, with some high tide and some other things. And the boat was moving. So, but I thought it was a really cool picture, and it just kind of shows, the things that we're doing to enhance quality of life, and she absolutely loved it. I think it was really pretty neat. And then the lengths that our team went through to make sure that could happen, I thought was a really, really cool thing. So when you see that picture, there was a lot of work that got into that. So thank you, Sophia and Amy, and for the rest of the team of helping make that happen. So. All right, who has the first question? That's all I had. Got about 20 minutes. I did get one more thing. I did get some feedback from a resident around power outages as we're getting into the summer season and making sure that you have plans in place. We are going to be dusting off our emergency procedure and sharing that with you all as far as some guidance for you. There was also this that was shared as far as a lantern that would be probably pretty smart for residents to purchase, that are plug-in, rechargeable plug-in, and also 1500 lumens charging lamp. Okay.
Because you can actually recharge your phone from it.
Yeah. So I thought that was definitely timely. So we will be refreshing on the power outage protocol to share with you all as far as what to do in case of a power outage. One thing along those lines, Skip and Bruce and I did visit with NCE, and we visited with a consultant to talk about our generator in light of the last power outage. In light of it, pun intended, I guess. And particularly when we didn't have enough coffee for you all when the power went out. So we're like, we can't have that happen again. So we visited with them, and we are going back through and making sure we have the right things hooked up to the generator. We found that there's some more flexibility on the generator. We've learned more to make sure that, again, the right things are set up on that to ensure that you all have as much comfort as you can during that period of time. But just want you to be aware, we listen, we don't just kind of shrug our shoulders when that happened, like, that didn't make sense. Why did we know that? So we're working through it, and we'll definitely make sure we make those improvements moving forward. So, Pat, what do you have?
I would like to know if there's any update on the chapel.
The prayer chapel, I don't have any major information right now. We are continuing to work with Batson, the architecture firm, but I'm hopeful I'll have some more information for you at the next meeting. Okay? Other questions?
Very silent group. That's amazing. But I have two questions, Ryan. The first one is there a way to better regulate the air conditioning in the main dining room?
Okay, hit me with the second one.
That's what I was afraid of.
It's the second one.
The second one is, as you've been getting estimates for the pool repairs, have they been giving you an idea as to how long the pool will be out of service?
Okay. Let's Skip answer the pool question, then I'll jump into the HVAC, because I've not been getting the estimates, but Skip has. So Skip, you want to grab the mic there?
We're hoping that the work can be done within 4 weeks. So you'll understand what's got to be done is that entire room is being done from top to bottom. So the scaffolding, pool has to be drained, the scaffolding will be set up to be able to reach everything in the ceiling of that pool. And that would be the beams, they've got to grind, they've got to wire brush the heads of the bolts that are rusting in there on the metal trusses, on the trusses that hold the wood together. The sprinkler system has to have a test. The sprinkler heads have to be replaced. The brackets for the sprinkler lines are rusting, have to be replaced. Mechanical systems we're going through, the electrical we're going through, the pump room we're going through. Then once all that work is done, then everything gets painted. Once the painter gets done, then the scaffolding comes down, then they'll begin to work on the pool. So it's a pretty complex process because it makes no sense to come in and redo a pool and not address these other issues, and then 5 years down the road, we're setting up scaffolding over a pool we just renovated. So we've had to do a lot of strategic planning on this, but that's the process. And as we get into it, we'll keep you updated on what's going on. But that's just, we won't put that in stone now because it's still a little premature to figure it out as we start working through the process. But we'll keep you updated. We'll give you weekly updates.
We're hoping to kind of sequence some of these projects between the Hoke Smith sidewalk and not have them, overlapping by too much. So we're working through that just to be smart. The thermostat in the dining room, we have been working, Bruce and Skip and I as well, with Jennings Dill and the folks that facilitate the train, the system that we have, the HVAC system. So we've looked at and done a study of looking at the vents, the dampers, and seeing what we can do to ensure that we have the proper flow. We've also now looked at providing multiple access to folks that are here to adjust the temperature, particularly for folks in the kitchen. We're going to put that in the back of the house to make sure they can adjust the temperature, and we can make sure that a resident just doesn't walk up and hit a button and change the temperature. There will be a sensor that's put out there so we can read the temperature better and make sure that we can monitor that. But there will be better controls here, through this, and we were just working through that here recently. I don't have a time frame on when it's going to be installed. But yes, we are going to be making sure there's multiple users that have access to that system. It's a whole business-oriented train system that controls the temperature. It's for that entire space. within that space, it's a little bit, complex. You've got a lot of heat in the back with a lot of things in the kitchen, and then you have a lot of openness, in the dining room. And then you throw in a fireplace that kicks off way too much heat, and that's why we've not been using that. So there's a lot of different things that they're trying to look through, and they've done this head-to-toe assessment and made some recommendations. We've also adjusted the temperature a little bit. It tries to go up and down by about 1.5 degrees, each way. But we are, diving into that and looking at it, working with the folks that installed it and becoming educated on it. And I think that thermostat installation will be key, and also the sensors, so we can be better mindful of those temperatures. So that is also, still continue to slowly be in the works. I've not heard a lot of feedback around the temperature. It feels like, from last year when I started in this role, I heard that a lot. It does seem to be at times seasonal, depending upon the temperature outside. And again, just trying to make sure and making these changes that the folks in the back that are around all the heat do not have, a significant issue. So trying to find a balance across that whole system between those two spaces makes it a little bit more complicated. Yes, next question.
I have no question. The hallways are all very cold also, especially in the F building.
The F building, okay.
Also, to the left of the main entrance of the F building, there are some screens which are left over, I guess, from the last winter washing. They've never been installed. They're
Okay.
just leaning up against the building.
Okay. Well, we'll definitely need to take a look at that. We did have the windows recently cleaned. Exterior window washing that was done by Spruce. So that was done also recently. That's our standard annual cleaning. We also do anticipate the mulch to be laid here before too long on the in those areas around the commons. So that's going to be happening before too long as well. Next question.
I was wondering if they're adjusting the heat and air, will it also cover the game tables in their pavilion? Either freeze or melt.
Yeah. And that's where we did that overview, kind of a schematic to look at where those air conditioning units are. So I thought that we had adjusted. I've not heard anything to say that it wasn't better recently. So if you are continuing to experience that, you need to let us know. But a lot of the questions around temperature have kind of come down. We've not had a lot of them like we did in the past. But in light of the feedback we had in the past, we brought them in, looking at the system, making some small adjustments. We don't want to make too many adjustments to get everything in a different state, but we're going to make small adjustments over time. And just be mindful of the seasonality of the temperature swings that we have right now, I think is another factor. But we are getting better about it and making sure we can try to keep it more comfortable.
So are you saying that you now have control over the heat and air conditioning?
I do not have control again. So Skip has control, and we'll make sure that Bruce has control. Bruce and
Y'all see
also
the track marks on my back?
Bruce and Rich. So we're going to have 3 folks that have access to that software system, but then also the ability in Bruce's office to be able to adjust the temperature here. So those are some adjustments that we can make. And I want to give a shout out to Skip, and I should have done this before, but Amy and I were talking before the veterans event. It was getting pretty warm in there, so we were like, we got to adjust this temperature down because we don't typically adjust it. We like to keep it at one level. So I know Amy and I talked like if it's this warm now, and there wasn't only a few residents there, it's going to get really warm tonight because we know it's going to be a big thing. So Skip was off that day. He actually came out and came and helped us to adjust it down so it was a lot more comfortable. So just want to make sure you knew that.
Thank y'all for your sense of humor. Who's got other questions?
Next question.
Hello. Why don't we use solar power?
Hold the mic up there. Sorry, Judy.
Why don't we use solar power? We've got bunches of roofs aligned.
Yeah.
And, by the way, I walked through the courtyard.
Hold it up. Yep.
I walked to the
Gomez Center the other day, and one of those generators was on, and it was just blasting. I mean, it was just unbelievable how loud it was. How many generators do we have?
That's a skip question for you. We have quite a few. We have to do load testing on them, particularly in the licensed areas. The Department of Health requires us to test it routinely, and in doing that, there needs to be a certain amount that it's tested to make sure that it functions when we need it. How many generators do we have, Skip?
We have 4. Okay, we've got the big 500 that's handles everything in EP and rehab and EP kitchen. Then we have the 500 that's outside the new Commons dining room that handles Commons and then some things in F building. And then we've got a 50 kW for healthcare that just does limited lighting, emergency lighting, and outlets. And then we have the 125 that we put up on the hill over here by E building in order to provide emergency lighting in the hallways, the fire alarm panels, the card access and camera systems for A, B, C, D, and E. And those are tested every Wednesday. So we document that, and then we work with a company out of Georgia, comes up once a quarter, goes through them all, and then they do load testing once a year on that. Then we have to do the big load testing every 4 years.
So if folks aren't aware, there was a point in time where, we didn't have 4 generators, and when the power went out, we really went dark. And we've done a lot of work to improve that and provide it. They can be really expensive, so finding the balance in something that's expensive, how do you find that balance to make sure you have the things that are really important? Also making sure we have elevators that are on those. In years past, we've not had that, so when we did have a power outage, we didn't have a way to get them downstairs other than the firemen, helping them down the stairs. So it's great that we've been able to slowly do that over time to incorporate that type of support when the power goes out. On the solar side, I can't really answer that question. I know that we have thought about it in the years past with phase 1. I think the question will come up again. It sounds like some of the costs are coming down, but there's also some connectivity issues, making sure that the wiring and everything is able to do that. So I know that's a big debate, as we move forward. We do want to be mindful of cost, and if there's ways we can be better stewards of our energy resources, we want to do that. Other questions?
I just wondered when we may expect delivery on the bus that was to be here in February.
Yes, you and me both. So I was talking to Amy about that. I figured that question would come up. So Amy and I are trying to connect with the folks that we put the deposit down with to try to come up with what the plan is. So I know Amy's indicated that just recently they gave us some other options that we could do to get it quicker. So we've not been able to connect with them. We have a certain type of bus that we want. We thought we were waiting, and then they said, well, we're still waiting. But then they said, in the meantime, you can look at these types of buses. And we've not been able to connect with her to make sure we understand, could that be an option or not? We want to make sure we have the right size of bus. We want to make sure it has a lift. There are some different seating options. So we did specifically, maybe you could say, customize this bus. I don't know if that's what's causing the issue, but they've not been great to talk to and to connect with. But Amy, I don't know if you have any other update there.
Well, I know there was like a large production that went in ahead of us, and that's one of the reasons for the delays. It was Boston Transportation sent in to have, I don't even know how many buses manufactured. So I know that was one of the reasons why it was taking a long time.
But we share your frustration. It's been way too long. Amy and I have not gotten on a car to go visit them in person. But if they don't answer and don't help us, we may have to make another trip to knock on their door. But we did go out there at one point. There was a group of residents that went. It is taking way longer than we would want. The next question.
Skip, is there a plan to fix the tire ruts in front of that building on the grass?
We make sure, okay, you talking about the house, you talking about on Hoke Smith on the road?
In front of F building.
Yeah, we are, Brightview, in fact, Ryan and I, as he told you, met with them this we've signed a contract with them. They're going to be doing top dressing and coming through those cottages, especially lots 1 through 16, where we did all the work on the cottages to try to fill in those areas and then redo some of that. They've been working on the irrigation. Is that what you're talking about?
F
Right
building.
in front of the F.
Oh, F building, yes. That's part of the cottage project. So when they're coming in to bring all this topsoil in to do that, they'll be working those ruts too. So I apologize. I get confused sometimes turned around. There was another question.
And I think the ruts came from the boom that we had rented that we were using to get in and clean out the dryer vents. Yeah, and I also had feedback that we might have fractured some of the sidewalk out there too, in doing that and taking that heavy equipment over it. So we need to look into that as well. Yes, Pat, what do you have for us?
This is honestly not a pick and skip question.
Okay.
But appreciation of just how big his job is.
Yeah.
The sidewalk project on Oak Smith does not include the lake perimeter sidewalk, which is a problem. I just
Yes.
wondered if you had any update on where that might go, or if anything might be done.
Yeah, so that's I had put that in the presentation a little bit ago, so that's the lakeside sidewalk. So next month, we're gonna invite those engineers to come out, and we're actually gonna be in this space and have all the residents that live in that neighborhood come out and get a chance to see and talk to those folks and talk through it. It's a pretty extensive amount of work that needs to be done, and some of the discussion is, do you go back in and put the same type of infrastructure in, recognizing it's very tight between the homes and the water? If it's going to continue to erode, does that make sense? How are you going to get major equipment in between homes? That's not easy. So we may end up, and we've discussed it, maybe we put some different infrastructure on the other side of the water. Again, the intent is, how can we create infrastructure that residents can enjoy? Does it have to be on that side? Maybe if we do it on the other side, on this side, maybe it's a little bit easier for us to get to that because there's no houses. So we're just trying to figure out, we need to fix it. What is the appetite for that? How's that going to look? It does impact some of the residents there, so we're going to visit with them, talk to them about the reports, have an opportunity to visit with the engineers that helped us create it. So that'll be coming up in June, I think the first week of June. I've been working with June Yannick and the board there at Lakeside to set that up. So we'll find out more once we have that visit.
As of May 1st, we were informed that packages would not be delivered to the apartments. How is that working out? I'm afraid I don't get notices every time I order something.
Mm-hmm.
Are they getting backed up, or is it moving?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm gonna punt that question over to Lindsay here. I know that they've been tracking the packages that come in. You want to give that mic to her? Skip her. I'll walk it over. So I know they've been doing a lot of work to try to understand the package delivery and how this is impacting them. So Lindsay, you got any feedback?
Yes, it is definitely a work in progress. We're kind of feeling our way through it since before COVID, really. I think Lori has ended up logging a lot of what's come in. We didn't intend to do that in the beginning, but people are coming to pick things up. We're just kind of seeing how it goes, and people are doing a good job coming to get things, and we are calling people if we do see kind of a backlog and some things sitting there for a few days, or if we see 3 or 4 items coming to sit to the same person, we'll call just because it is taking up more room. But if it's something small that's just sitting there for a day or so, yeah, we're not necessarily going to call right away. But most of the places where you order from are going to send you a notification anyway, and you're going to know that it's there. But is there anything else that we can do to make that a little easier for y'all?
I want to stress the large packages will definitely have somebody from our team deliver it to you.
Any other questions about that for me?
Who has the next question?
The sidewalk, I'm just looking at it as a walker.
Mm-hmm.
The sidewalk that you're talking about is gonna cost hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever it's gonna cost.
goes nowhere,
Hmm.
goes to a dead end. Have we checked to see how many people really use it and whether it would be better to just go over the, I call it a bridge, go over the little bridge and go around that way?
That's where we have some issues with the erosion where the sidewalk is shut down. So there definitely are some issues there. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind, pull it back up. If you pull up the visual, this one, yeah, the one with the yellow line. So I do believe that this will make sure that the sidewalk is safer from here. So it is going to go, it's going to go all the way, the sidewalk's going to go all the way along Hoke Smith and connect up here. So now, all the folks that live in this neighborhood have the ability to walk across here and walk safely down here to the village center area, to the commons. And then also these folks as well, they've got a sidewalk here, but again, this is not in good repair, but it is going to be upgrading that and this space here to ensure folks in this neighborhood have a safer route to walk and create that connection. We love to have a lot more connection and a lot more sidewalks, and in doing this, particularly when it comes to the road there having an issue with that needing to be fixed, that tree stub that's coming up, we felt we wanted to address that all together.
I'm talking about the sidewalk that's all blocked off behind Lakeside.
Yeah, the lakeside sidewalk, yes. That's what we were talking about. Well, there's significant erosion issues there. That's what we need to talk about. And one of the options I was mentioning, instead of putting this back, maybe we don't do that, and maybe we create a feature here.
Yes.
That's what we were talking through. So those are the things, because it's going to be difficult to get heavy equipment here and all the work that needs to be done. We don't want to make assumptions. It's going to impact multiple people, whereas we are getting more information to see what's this going to be like. You were stepping back and saying, this may not make sense, and then we need to engage the residents and talk through what makes the most sense. But we may not do that. That's an option. So that's what we're looking at. So I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question. But this lakeside, it's a Hoke Smith. We're calling this the Hoke Smith sidewalk. This is along Hoke Smith, and we're calling this the lakeside sidewalk here. And that's the area that's been blocked off, where we have significant erosion, where it's undermined underneath in this. That bridge, yeah, that bridge. Yep, it does eventually end. We'd love to have seen it continue, but at this point it does dead end. Yep.
Yeah, I have one comment about the lakeside sidewalk there. It's true it wasn't used a lot, and one of the reasons it wasn't used a lot were the geese. You could only walk a little ways, and then you just couldn't go any further. So that's one of the reasons that it was not used frequently.
Yep. I definitely understand that.
So it becomes a question of, do we really want it?
Well, the water is going to continue to be there. One of my thoughts, which I've mentioned to Skip, is I want to visit with the folks at Furman to understand how they use the swans out there to keep the geese away. So David Newton's wife used to work at Furman. He's put us in touch with somebody there. We'd like to visit with them and talk about how they keep their spaces cleaner with less Canadian geese. I believe it is the swans that they have, the beautiful, beautiful swans. So could that be an option? We don't know, but we have tried everything to keep the geese away. I know that can be a sensitive subject, but we've tried the chemical in the grass to give them an upset stomach. We've tried the little rope at the lip to not allow them to walk out. We've tried the dogs. We've tried the fake creatures that are out there. We've tried the lights. Nothing is working. And from my understanding that once they have babies, they're going to keep coming back. So I know the neighborhood I lived in before I moved here for 4 years, we had 2 muted swans. You did have 2 birds that were temperamental in the spring, but that swan did not allow those geese to come back every year. They'd come for a day or 2, and he'd shoo them off. His name was Michael the Swan. But he would shoo them away, so they would not come back. So could that be an option for us? I'm not saying we're going to get swans. They can be temperamental. But do you have 2 temperamental birds versus 40? You know, and then the waste with all of that, and just the total mess it's created. That's what we're thinking about. We want to at least research it. Again, not saying we're making a decision, but we want to research it. And how many folks have been out to Furman and walked around the water there? It's beautiful. So could that work here? We don't know, but we're going to at least have a conversation, because the swans can be disruptive. Cardi.
Ryan, I know at Thornway they use a horn, and I know it's maybe expensive, but it honks and it tells them that the property is already used and they don't come.
Wow.
Because they had a real problem over there with the greens and all
Yeah.
that.
Well, that can be an option too. I've never heard that before.
We can put them on the menu.
That could be an option too.
That's the best idea yet.
Yeah, somebody told me about that. I think I had a resident that shared that with me. They lived up in the Maryland area, and they would call the food shelter. Those folks would kind of come and help pick them up. He said he didn't know where they went, but that's what he said they did up in the Maryland area. So.
I have a little change of subject, but
Sure.
I'm wondering what's going to be done with Creekside Pond. It's okay when it rains, but there, when we didn't have the rain, it sat there mucky, dirty, and if we have more of that, and we're going to have mosquitoes, and it's going to stink.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any way that can be cleaned out? It needs to be just cleaned out and start over, really.
Yeah,
It's been a mess this past couple weeks.
Yeah, Skip. I'd asked Skip why the fountain wasn't working, and it's because of all the sediment that's in that pond. So that is going to be added to that list. We do need to work through these other priorities first, but from Skip's feedback, it's needed to dredge and actually get all that sediment out of that pond, which we're not aware of that's been done. So that is something that we will eventually do, but with everything else that we have, we felt that we needed to keep our focus on these items. But yes, eventually we will need to do that. So we don't have a time frame, but eventually we will need to do that.
Have you been to Conisee Park?
Yes.
They've got lots of water and lots of walkways over the water. Can that be done the same way?
As far as the decking system and
Yeah, on the sidewalk.
yeah, and those are some of the options that we're going to start to look at. We need to first decide what infrastructure, where the infrastructure is going to go, and then we'll come up with some ideas. We'll definitely come up with a couple of options. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful place, Conisee. And one more question, we can finish up. It's about 8 after 4. I do appreciate the questions. My hope is I'm doing the best that I can to share what we have going on and making sure that things are not falling off and just giving you updates. I know it doesn't seem to want to execute as quickly as we'd want, but we're working on it.
Ryan, this isn't a question, but probably many people are aware that down on Woodruff Road, the Ace Hardware store has had a post office in it.
Yeah.
And I discovered this week that post office is permanently gone.
Oh, wow.
So some people like to know that.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I like to go to that. I like to go there too. That was a good one. They were friendly and they were quick. Yep. All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Thanks for giving that to me. You all have a good day. Thank you.